So, hello and welcome to day 2 of the Finding Light in Grief challenge. So, today we are talking about the sacral chakra, which is about embracing your emotions and your creativity. So, if you can allow your grief to flow like water, this is what the sacral chakra does. It just helps your grief and your feelings flow through you. Often when we're grieving, we stuff our feelings down, or our feelings are just flowing out wherever, and we just feel that we're out of control either way with them. I was one of the stuffing down sort of people. So yesterday we focused on creating safety and grounding through your root chakra, to give you that base to work from. And today we gently want to move into the sacral chakra, which is the next energy centre up the body. And the sacral chakra is the energy centre of emotions, creativity, connection, and joy, believe it or not. So this beautiful orange centre, my orange top to remind you that we're on the sacral today, sits just below your navel and is connected to the element of water. Water teaches us one important lesson. It was never meant to be still. It flows, it adapts. If you think about how a river or a stream runs, softens, cleanses. When you're in the shower, obviously you're washing and you're cleansing, but also you can imagine that you're cleansing yourself of any negative feelings, any negative thoughts that you're thinking of. And water just carries our life forward, and our emotions are the same. We're often driven by our emotions one way or another, and we often feel either disconnected to them or just over connected. And grief often convinces us that our emotions are just too much or not enough, especially if we've been around people that, when we're in those, I'm going to say, early years of grieving, for a child, because it just is so strong and intense, that they're like, what's the matter with you? It's been a year now, or it's been 2 years. And because they expect us to get over it, or in my case, I dampen down my feelings outwardly because I just thought, my God, who would want to know this pain? So I didn't share the pain I was feeling with my friends or even my parents, fully. My mum actually said to me once, and yeah, it literally sort of broke my heart at the time, but she said, oh, it's all right for you, you're back to work, you're out with your friends, because outwardly it looked like I was fine, I was functioning and doing things, but inwardly I was still broken inside, and I just didn't have that outlet to share those emotions with anyone, or that energetic outlet, as I've now discovered years later. And I wish I hadn't waited that long. So if you're in the earlier stages, then come and get support now, rather than leaving it too many years just like I did. So what, and they can change in the blink of an eye as well. So one moment we might feel overwhelming sadness, the next something might happen and we might fuel our anger. Then we might feel guilt. Why are we still here and they're not? We were supposed to protect them, because they were our children. And other times we can just feel completely numb and we don't really know what we're feeling. We're just doing the day to day of life and just not caring about anything. And yeah, we haven't got the extremes. Sometimes we even feel moments of laughter or peace and then immediately judge ourselves for it. So if you do relax into it and you actually have a moment and then you feel guilty for feeling a bit more peaceful, or laughing with a friend, and then think, how can I sit here and be laughing when my child isn't here anymore? So I know so many bereaved parents just think that there's something wrong with them, whichever way they're going with the emotions. And the answer is no, there's nothing wrong with you. There is no right way to grieve. We are all different and we all grieve in our own ways. And grief isn't just one emotion, in those six letters. I didn't spell it then. Um, yeah, it isn't just one emotion, it's a whole multitude of emotions. Grief isn't just sadness and depression. Grief is anger, grief is guilt. So a whole plethora of emotions are evoked when we're grieving, and they just pace through our body all at once sometimes, which the sacral chakra reminds us that emotions are just energy in motion. And that's why that was the awakening for me when I had that thing at the retreat where I just came out of it and said I wanted to be able to speak about my son without crying. And then we did the energy work to release that sadness and the trauma I'd been carrying, holding on to all those years. But the energy just literally moved through my body and out, and that is the difference with the energy healing work. It's so different to the traditional talk therapies where you're just talking about it, but things are just going round in circles. You're not actually moving the energy there with just the words, but with the energetics of it, you are actually moving those feelings, and you can actually process them mind, body, and soul level, and actually have them come out of your body. The emotions aren't here to punish us, they're just asking to be witnessed, for our grief to be felt. We feel our grief, but for it to be honoured and then released. So it's not here, although it's finding light after grief, it's not, oh yeah, don't grieve, don't push that down, don't think about the sadness, be happy. It's not that at all. It's recognizing what you're feeling, whether it's numbness, and then that can bring out, we can actually bring out other feelings by shifting the numbness, um, shifting your anger. One of my clients was really angry, and actually her words was she had hatred for the doctor that she believed was responsible ultimately for the death of one of her twins at birth. And through the energetic release, she managed to release that, so she didn't actually hold that hatred and that anger towards the doctor anymore. And all that's doing, it's like the saying, you're just the one drinking the poison if you're holding on to that. They're not aware that you're angry at them or that you've got this hatred for them. It doesn't do them any good. That they're the only person it's hurting is you, and that's why I'm passionate about helping people release the deep held, anything, resentment, anger, all of those types of things, because that's actually just harming you, not harming the people that should be harmed by it, anyone that you might hold responsible in some way or another for the death of your child. So when we resist our emotions, which I did for many years because I just thought it was too painful, I couldn't face it on my own, and I didn't have any support of anyone of at that time of any way of helping support me through it and helping me to release the pain that I was holding on to. So often these emotions, they become stuck in our body, and then that's where sometimes they can actually lead to physical ailments as well. So another one of my clients developed fibromyalgia, and then when we look back at the root cause, it was because of her grief. So when we worked on the emotions around the grief, then her symptoms of fibromyalgia just almost sort of melted away, and she come off all the medication she was on. So it can really do transformative things. So when we allow them space, you just can see these transformations come out. So it's not about fixing your emotions, it's simply about allowing them, and then finding a way, if we can, to actually process them and transform them into maybe just a little bit more of a higher level emotion. So there's a thing called the emotional scale that I talk about a lot in my work. So it's taking you up from one of the really low vibrational emotions, and you're not going to go straight from sort of fear that's right at the bottom to love and joy that's at the top. But even if you move up to being calm, then that is better than being in that fearful position. So and we'll talk more about that in depth on another day. So, understanding the sacral chakra, the Sanskrit name for the sacral chakra, I'm probably not going to pronounce this right, I'm not great with my Sanskrit, is Svadhisthana. It'll be written down, and you might have a better pronunciation of it than me. But this has a meaning, and it's the dwelling place of the self. So it governs your emotions, creativity and pleasure, relationships, passion, self-expression, and our ability to receive joy. So straight away we can see a lot of links to that with grief. So obviously very emotional when you're grieving. There's creative ways. So now a lot of time people who use art therapy for when people are in trauma. So being creative in some way can actually give you an outlet for this. Pleasure and relationships. Our relationships are often affected when we're grieving. So that's another big area to focus on. And our passion and self-expression, it's just numbed. We've just had such a big loss that, yeah, you just often numb and you're not saying anything, or people go the opposite way. So some people will just go all in on doing some sort of charity work or something related maybe to the death of their child, and that's how they channel their sacral chakra energy in their self-expression of doing that. And say it also affects our ability to receive joy, which obviously makes sense. When you're grieving, then the last thing you think you're going to be able to receive is joy. So when this chakra becomes blocked through grief, loss, trauma, guilt, or shame, we may notice that we're feeling emotionally overwhelmed or emotionally numb or disconnected. So who's ever felt that way? Put a note in the comments under the video if that's you. Loss of joy, pretty obvious there. I think there's not one bereaved parent that hasn't lost their joy there. We'll often also lose our creativity because we just, what's the point of life anymore? It's back to the foundations that we covered yesterday, and we can't actually see any point in doing anything or making any effort. Also affects with feeling guilty for laughing or smiling is another common one. Difficulty receiving love or support. So again, one of the mums that I work with, she'd just come totally disconnected. Her relationship with her husband was on the rocks, but after working through her own feelings, they're now closer than they ever was. And yeah, Frey, she's got hope and love back in her life now, was what she said to me after we worked together. You can also become overly attached or emotionally distant. So you're either like, if you've got other children, maybe you might be overly attached to those children, wanting to control them more, be watching them every minute of the day because you're back to yesterday, you're fearful of what's happened. Or you just might be emotionally distant and you can't actually connect with anyone or anything. You've just completely shut down your emotions, and feeling disconnected from your soul desires as well. So that's one of the things. It's about reconnecting back to yourself, processing the thoughts and feelings that you've got through your grief, and then connecting back to what your soul desires. And then all of this leads on to being able to connect more deeply with your child that's in spirit as well. So that's a later days one there, so I won't go off on a stream with that. Sometimes grief causes us to close our hearts to life because we fear that joy somehow dishonours our child that has died. But joy and grief can exist together. So allow yourself those moments of comfort. Doesn't mean that you love them any less. It just means that your heart is remembering to breathe again. And it's all about that, and being able to look back and remember there's a particular photo of Adam, one of the few photos that I've got that was taken in the last couple of weeks before he left this earth. And when I first used to look at that photo, all I used to see was just how poorly he looked, and it made me sad looking at that photo. But after doing the work, I now actually remember the amazing time we had when we went to visit my friend that weekend when the photo was taken, and that he was so in his element that he'd met his hero, Batman, albeit only at Waxworks. But yeah, it meant the world to him as a 4-year-old meeting his hero. That was back in the day before all the wonders of technology that we've got today. The kids might be not quite so impressed then, but yeah, no, they are on tablets and things at 4 now, so yeah, they might not be quite so impressed as he was, but he was in his element. And that's what I remember now, the happy time that we had that weekend away at my friend's. And the sacral chakra, big three that come up here: anger, guilt, and grief. So I've already touched on these a little bit. One of the most misunderstood emotions in grief is anger. So you can feel angry at the person who died. You can feel angry at yourself. Why didn't you do something to stop it? You can feel angry at doctors, like the example I mentioned earlier. Angry at other family. Angry at God. Or just angry at life in general for why was it your child that got taken? Or perhaps you can be angry that the world simply carried on around you when yours has stopped. So who's felt like that their world just stopped that day, and then especially after the milestones like the funeral or maybe the first year anniversary, everyone else is just carrying on as normal, and you just think, have they forgotten what happened? Anger is not wrong. It often protects the deeper emotions underneath, such as pain, helplessness, fear, and just the utter heartbreak of losing your child. So the sacral chakra invites us to acknowledge anger with compassion instead of shame. And alongside the anger often comes guilt. I should have done more. I should have said something. If only. These thoughts are incredibly common after loss. Yet guilt often grows from love. We replay the past because we desperately wish the ending had been different. Today, rather than asking, how do I get rid of these feelings? Ask instead, can I simply sit beside them without judging them? So healing begins when compassion replaces criticism. So today's intention I want to set, it's that I allow my emotions to move through me with compassion. So you can just sit quietly, see what emotion, feeling comes to mind. Just allow that emotion to move up, rise up through your body. Feel it. If you need to, then cry, if that's going to be an outlet of releasing that guilt or that sadness or whatever the emotion is. And then just softly feel it rising out of your body and releasing. And then just taking a deep breath. And then another healing practice we can do is the water release ritual. So water is a natural healer of the sacral chakra. So you could fill a bowl with warm water. You could take a bath or simply stand beneath a warm shower. And as the water touches your skin, just close your eyes and imagine it gently softening every place inside you that feels tight, frozen, guilty, angry, or just purely overwhelmed. Just feel that water cleansing your body, your heart and your mind. And imagine each breath allowing the emotions to flow just a little bit more freely. So an affirmation you can repeat slowly is, I allow my emotions to flow. I do not judge what I feel. My tears are sacred and my healing is allowed. There is nothing you need to force. Perhaps today you cry, perhaps you don't. Perhaps you simply breathe. Every response is enough. And now I'm about to take you through a guided visualization. So if you just like to find your comfortable space, and we will begin shortly.